Dear friends, good morning. As you might have guessed from the video, my name is Magomed Kostoev, and today I shall be talking about what happened with our Donor 42 project in the last 2 months. This is the slide on fire that I specifically prepared for today's presentation. So, a couple of weeks ago, we hosted a very important event for Dodo brands, our partners meetup, and I presented there. If you have not seen the presentation, you should. It's easy to find on YouTube. And I have been telling there about what we have been able to do during the last year, since the opening announcement to the actual opening. Today, we have our regular meeting that we host every 2 months, and I'll be telling you about the results of our work in the last 2 months. Let us, of course, look at the figures first. May and June show growth. For the first time in June, we've been able to go over 5 million of revenue, with almost 5.2 million revenue. As for the numbers of orders, we're also growing, getting to about 16,000 in June. Another very important figure for us is revenue from the app. In June, that was 1.6 million. And we'll talk about revenue from the app a bit later as well. And here's the delivery revenue. With all of the aggregators, it's over 1.1 million in June. We're going to launch, in about a couple of weeks, we're going to launch, maybe even in August, we're going to launch our very own delivery service. It's a pretty complex process in terms of operations. We need to think about the flow, we need to integrate it into the Dodo IS, we need to understand how it works offline. I mean, it's pretty complex, and our entire team is putting their effort into making this happen. But we're definitely launching our very own delivery service, and we'll let you know on our social networks about that. Please do not hesitate to sign. So, this is the slide that I've shown at the meetup. We have 800 new active users per week. The percentage of returning customers every week is 12%, and revenue from the app, when I presented, was 40%. Today, it's 56%. And let me go all metaphysical. At the moment, you see app sales percentage growing from week to week, from day to day. Revenue from the floor, starting with July. And let me tell you how and why it matters for us. Because when we conceived the donor place concept, the donor restaurant concept, we wanted to make it a digital donor restaurant, but not simply as a statement, no. We truly wanted to make a digital restaurant. So what do we need for that? We want to persuade our clients that they should install the app, and also they should sustain using it. We need to persuade them that it's worth using the app, because we can only know everything about our guests if they use those mobile apps. Therefore, we can personalize. If they just order at the counter, we don't know anything about our clients. So, a couple of days ago, one of my friends called me. He's the owner of one of the well-known shawarma networks, and he asked me, Magomed, how have you been able to achieve such a great figure? You see, July 10th, we have about 60% revenue coming from the app. So he asked me, how have you been able to do this, Magomed? I want to reply him, but also I want to convey this important information to all of you. If you want to increase your app revenue, there are 2 mandatory conditions. First, the product must be good. I mean, seriously. First, you need to make people install the app, of course. And that's the effort of the marketing. The marketing is in charge of increasing the number of installs. Okay, that's the first wave. We have our magical marketing for that. They're really good at it. Next, there are 2 mandatory conditions. First of all, the guests need to keep on using the app. For that, the app must be intuitively comprehensible, simple and convenient. You just click it and it happens. And the product really must be good enough so that people would like to return to get it again. I would love to give you the example. There's this one Moscow chain that I really love. I order all the time for that network, but via aggregators. And I got the flyer in the order made via the delivery aggregator. And the flyer actually suggested to install their mobile app, the network's mobile app, for the discount at the first order and getting into their bonus system, etc. I installed the app, but I realized that it's just so complex and so inconvenient that I'm not going to use it whatsoever. There's no excitement. And I just deleted it. And I keep on using delivery aggregator. And that is a problem for any network. And that is our problem. How do we make people use the app, keep using the app when we get more and more restaurants, so that UX of the app is convenient, really exciting, so that people want to use it? And according to these figures, we see that we have been so far doing pretty good, increasing the app sales, app revenue. The percentage of app sales is about 60%. We're really approaching that figure. Let us go from figures to action. A few things from the bird's eye view that we've done in the last 2 months. Finally, we rejected the idea of night shifts. Why is that important? Well, intuitively, we did realize that night shifts will never break even at that particular restaurant in Moscow, but we wanted to test the hypotheses and understand it in detail. I mean, yes, our delivery in the night was going up and the floor revenue was going up in the night, but the time to break even for the night shifts was just too long to make it feasible. And we realized that, taking into account the operations complexity for night shifts, it's just easier to reject it whatsoever. Of course, that will overall reduce the sales, the revenue, but on the other hand, the income will get better. Another thing, we had to close our restaurant floors due to COVID regulations, because in July in Moscow, people without vaccination certifications were not allowed in the restaurants. So we had to remodel the entrance into the restaurant so that the guest could make an order right at the entrance, as conveniently as possible. We, of course, were prepared to this closing of the whole of the floor. But what has it led to? Because it was only allowed for people to get into the restaurant if they had a vaccination certification. Overall, many restaurants in Moscow had to close because they were merely empty. They were not enough vaccinated people. I mean, the measure was probably reasonable, but many people just didn't know about it. They were entering the restaurant. They didn't know why they could not make an order. There were even scandals. There were people who were very unhappy with this. But as a matter of fact, we had 1 or 2 people in 1 or 2 hours entering the room. I mean, literally, the floor was empty, but we got prepared to this closing, and the pickup rate, of course, increased. The share of pickup increased. We added this QR code that increased the number of installs. We added the menu at the entrance to the restaurant, the big LCD with the menu and the big LCD for order pickup. And also we connected the microphone and the speaker for the cashier so that they could announce the order. I think we were pretty much prepared for the closing of the floor, and that allowed us not to lose too much revenue. Here's the comparison between the periods from 1st of June to June 18th and the similar period in July. Up till yesterday, literally. So the floor lost 28%, delivery actually increased by 4%, and in total, we lost about 21% of the revenue. Is it good or bad? I think it's pretty good, actually, because if we compare it to other restaurants and chains in Moscow, some of them lost 80, 70, 90%. Some restaurants had to close, bear that in mind. So I should say that this is pretty good, actually. We also added the pickup option via aggregators to make it more convenient for our guests. Next, as for operations, we connected almost all of our suppliers and subcontractors to East-West logistics system. This is the logistics delivery and supply system that helped us and helps us to scale. And in the future, when we scale more, it will be easier for us to open in other towns. For example, now we are considering spaces in the town of Nevinnamysk. It's a relatively small town, 120,000 people in population, in the region of Stavropol. The area of the town is 100 square kilometers, 25 times less than Moscow. And it's also possible to open a donor place there, and we're going to deliver our meat, our pita bread there, etc. We are also opening a new position in the restaurant. This is the shift manager. Kolya, what a nice guy. Kolya is our business developer, but he's just very photogenic. He looks good in the photo. That's why he's our poster boy for the shift manager. And at the moment, labor cost has a bit increased, but we are reconsidering our processes, and we think that this position is necessary. Also, we have launched the knowledge base. We're still testing it. It's a website. It's not as fancy as it will be in a couple of months, but we have it. We're making it work. We're adding information on an ongoing basis. We're testing something, deleting, adding. I mean, it's a work in progress. And by the time we're ready to launch the first test franchisees, it will be fully available. Another point, QA, quality assurance of our food. Finally, we've launched the full-scale QA. We have a dedicated person under the management of fabulous Svetlana Voroshilova. That person is doing it. That includes certification, quality control for food, expiration date checkup, different sorts of norms and regulations. Those things that will simplify and facilitate our job, not only in the restaurant, but also when we scale. This function is actually very important for the business. Food security. The Donor Grill 2.0. We have been talking about it for so long. It used to be model, now it is reality. It has finally arrived to the warehouse, and our operations team, the ladies, are testing it. Look how fancy it is. It's just gorgeous. It's wide. It helps us to actually broaden our bottleneck. And you can see the cold area and the hot area there. To the right, there's the hot area for meat at the temperature of 75 degrees Celsius and different types of sauces. Hot sauces. We have cold sauces and hot sauces as well. So that is the place for hot sauces. And here you have it, the testing results. The colleagues are so happy with the grill. It has fully lived up to the expectations. We're super happy with the testing. Now we're doing some small adjustments, and in the near future we shall be ready to actually install it at the restaurant and try it in the battlefield. The speed. The ability to make orders as quickly as possible is the major thing for our business, because if the guests arrive and get their orders quickly, not in 15, not in 20 minutes, not even in 10 minutes, they will return. The speed in our business, in QSR, actually makes a very direct and strong impact on the percentage of returning customers. We have actually measured our speed. We have this big speed project. We have measured that 65% of our orders are being submitted in less than 7 minutes, are being handed out in less than 7 minutes. Is this good or bad? Well, that's actually not so bad when we have 20, 30, or 40 donors to make at the time, and we actually make about more than 200,000 revenue a day. But we want to be able to prepare all of the orders and give them out in about 5 minutes, no more than that. We're approaching that. This is the happy face of Mr. Georgi Zasidze. He realizes that customer service team, which he manages, has been able to cope very well with the mission of supporting Donor 42. I mean, we approached the customer service of Dodo and requested so that they take us under their warm wing. Georgi was a bit reluctant, but then he agreed. So now they take charge of 100% of the calls, feedbacks, reviews in mapping services, Yandex and Google, and in the app. I mean, it is fully their domain now, Dodo QS, and they have been doing really good. I think they know how to do their job really well. As for the partners, our first 10 testing partners franchisees. At the last presentation, I said that we want to select the first 10 testing partners, and indeed, we got over 600 applications. And we have been able to select the first 10 partners, franchisees. So now we are working with them, closely getting to know one another, getting to know the team, selecting the spaces. And the important stage here is actually the selection of the agency that will be doing the design for the project, the visual part of it, first and foremost. And right now we are in the talks with 2 major agencies with sufficient experience. And I believe that this week we shall end the competition and we shall select the contractor to make 10 really smashing and diverse designs. And as for spaces and locations, twice a week our location selection committee comes together and considers the suggestions from our partners from different cities: Moskva, Kazan, Nevennamysk, Rostov. And we are considering different locations. We said no to this particular space, but still the process is running full on. So, coming to conclusion of my presentation, let me show you this slide. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I was rehearsing my presentation. And I looked at these particular figures live in Dodo IS to update the presentation with the latest figures. And here's what I see. Look at this figure on the left, 1,948 rubles. Sales made in the first 10 minutes, and like for like, plus 3,000%. I mean, this is obviously because today they opened restaurants for everybody, meaning people without vaccination certificates as well. But still, it's very important for food and beverage in Moscow in general. Finally, today, on July 19th, they lifted this ban. And now everybody can get into restaurants. And I opened the video feed from the restaurant this morning. I saw people coming in, looked at the revenue, saw that it's really good. And that, of course, lifted my spirits tremendously. I even poured a cup of coffee with cream and drank it to cheer every single restaurant in Moscow. And congratulate Dodo Retail. I congratulate all of our partners and all of the restaurants in Moscow as well. Congratulations on this final opening. And our revenue will go back up. Therefore, dear friends, I thank you once more for listening to me today. Please stay happy and stay safe.